With playoffs on the line, Vanderbilt is set. They're poised to blast the Auburn Tigers right here in Nashville.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making us part of your day. Thanks to you everydayers for making this show what it is. Now, we're going to talk about, I'm going to make my SEC picks. I've got a few. There's not a ton of SEC games, but I'm going to make some picks there. Obviously, give the prediction on this game right here in Nashville. I'm going to tell you why Vandy wins, the keys to success. Those are synonyms for saying the same thing, but I'm going to tell you what Vanderbilt needs to do and what needs to happen if they plan on winning. But we're going to talk about the impact of this game. Like, what does it mean for NIL and recruiting? The closer they get to the playoffs, Vanderbilt's still making a playoff push. They are so close to making a playoff push. So what does that mean? How does that happen? And we're going to talk about all of that plus more right here on the Locked On Vandy podcast. And honestly, this is a great place to start. I mean, you look at a weekend that is very, very important for playoff. For your playoff push. You're sitting right now at 7-2. You have to be perfect down the stretch to make the playoffs. You've got an Auburn team who just fired their coach. We don't know what they're going to get, but you have an Auburn team that just fired their coach. You have a bye. Then you have Kentucky, who they're playing really inspired football. They have a really good quarterback, but they're just not quite ready to take over a game yet. They won a rock fight 10-3 last week against Auburn. Those are the type of games they're winning. I don't know right now that Kentucky's ready to hang with Vanderbilt. We'll see how they do against Florida, and my tune will either change or stay the same based on that game. And then Tennessee, who they're struggling a little bit, but they're still a 3-loss team. They're 6-3. They've got a lot of big goals ahead of them. Playoffs is probably out of the picture for them, but of course they can play spoiler to Vanderbilt if Vanderbilt gives them that opportunity to do so. And of course, big bowl games, high profile bowl games outside of the playoff realm, that kind of thing also is on the table for the Tennessee Volunteers. So, lots of great football left on the table for this weekend. So, with Vanderbilt making a playoff push, like that has a lot of implications, and the same obvious ones, like, it's, they're in the hunt for the national championship, like they're a relevant team, but like for a lot of programs, it's kind of the expectation. And for Vanderbilt, that's been the expectation that they've carried into this season, and they've made no bones about it. Like, this is a confident program, and it's a program that's starting to kind of back that up. Like, when Diego Pavia said that over the summer on Bussin' with the Boys and a lot of his other media appearances, like, people laughed at him. People laughed at Vanderbilt like, yeah, right, national championship, okay. Yeah, I mean, they laughed at him. But, like, Vanderbilt, to a certain degree, has backed a lot of that stuff up. Now, they've lost 2 games. One to Texas in what I think is still kind of a weird game where you get your brains beat in, and then all of a sudden, like the Undertaker, you pop up and you almost complete the comeback. Against Alabama, you just get suffocated to death at Bryant-Denny Stadium, where you were in control for a minute, and then you just kind of slip up, let your guard down, and Bama landed a couple of haymakers and knocked you out. Like, that's those are the kind of games they lost. It's not like they just completely ran out of the building against the team that they shouldn't have, like South Carolina or Virginia Tech or, those type of games. They won comfortably the games they were supposed to win and win comfortably, which Vanderbilt never does. So they're backing a lot of this stuff up. They're looking and acting like a real program, which they haven't been in quite some time. When Clark Lee took it over in 2021, they were I next level bad is what they were, is what that group was. It was pathetic. And Clark Lee comes in, and honestly, it looks bleak because it just looked like something that even Like, it just looked like something nobody was ever going to be able to turn around. And it wasn't the fault of Clark Lee. It wasn't the fault of his efforts. It was in a state of such ill repair that it might have been broke beyond repair. And that's the way the program looked. And then you put a couple new bolts in there, you get a couple of new pieces, all of a sudden you're on the cusp of a bowl game in year 2. Year 3, you take a step backwards because your foundation really wasn't as strong as you thought it was, and then you overhaul it, and now here we are, 2 years after the second season after the overhaul. Bowl game, winning record, now you're on the cusp of the playoff. Like, this team is building in the right direction. Like, coming off of 2023, no one saw this coming. No one saw a bowl game coming. No one saw this coming. And that's the impact that this is having. Because if fans are taking notice of it, if national media members are taking notice of it, you think recruits are taking notice of it? Yep. You think big donors are taking notice of it? Yeah. You think guys thinking about entering the transfer portal have their eyes on Vanderbilt, especially if you're a running back or quarterback that's kind of a dual threat guy? Yeah, absolutely. You think the next Diego Pavia is looming out there somewhere? Yeah, probably. He might already be on your roster. He's somewhere. I don't know where the next quarterback's going to come from. It might be the next guy on the roster. I don't know that it's Blaise Berlowitz, but I don't know that it's not. My point is that you win this game, it gets you one step closer. You win this game, and you can, I don't know if you can all but guarantee, but you feel pretty good about getting to 9 wins. And 9 wins is a great step in the right direction. And 9 wins means, hey, we're a couple of pieces away. We're a couple of veteran pieces away from really making this thing special. And that you'll be able to take notice because you're going to have more NIL at your disposal. Vanderbilt has very deep pockets. They don't want anybody to know it, and they don't want to spend it really, but they have really, really deep pockets. And they have a coach that's figured some things out. They have a coach that has found himself after doing a lot of extensive soul searching, walking off the field last time they were in Knoxville. It's a great thing. That guy and the current Clark Lee are not the same person professionally, from a professional standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. They're not the same person. Maybe personally, maybe outside the field, obviously they probably are, but Clark Lee has shown his personality more. He's always been intense. The guy is outstanding, and people are throwing his name out there in these coaching searches. That's a compliment, but he's not going anywhere. I would be highly shocked if he went anywhere because he's in a good situation at Vanderbilt. He's from here. He's done most of his schooling, if not probably 90% of his schooling on West End alone. Or I guess NBA is on the Harding part of it, but ain't that far apart. West End, Harding, it's the same road. It just changes names, I think, after it crosses 440, for those of you who know the Nashville geography there in Belmead. But you're in a situation to where you've got everything set up that you want. You've got the exact makeup of a staff. You've got the right guys in place. You've got the right nucleus on your team. Finally, you figured some things out. Why blow it up and go start somewhere else? People are going to take notice. You win this game. You beat Auburn, second year in a row. People take notice. Recruits are like, they're serious. You had an opportunity against Texas to really blow the lid off of it. You missed that chance. But again, you had some fight. It was respectable, sort of. But again, you have a chance. And then in about 3 weeks, you go to Knoxville, and you could really blow the lid off. You get a win in Neyland, bam, that lid is off. Off you go. and this thing turns into a monster. That's the progression that you're on. Get ready. I don't think the SEC is ready for that. Right? You win this game, you get to 8 wins, you're one step closer. This playoff picture is far from over. You give yourself a chance. If you're in it at the end, that's all you can ask for. You do your part. You're in the mix at the end. The bids will fall how they fall. Can't control that. You could have, but you can't now. The only thing you control is this. You keep adding to that win total. Get to 10-2. Let the chips fall where they may, no matter where they fall. 10 wins at a massive bowl game is a huge season. And I guarantee you, people will take notice. The right people will take notice. And I guarantee you that you'll see a massive uptick in recruiting and people will notice. This team will be different. This program will be different. It's going on an upward trajectory right now. And I think Clark Lee's the right guy to do it. So how does he – but Auburn comes in with an interim coach. They're fired up. They want Durkin to get it. Durkin wants this job. They're coming in extra motivated now where they weren't before. Does it matter? This offense has been historically bad. Does it matter? We'll talk about that next. First, I want to talk to you about DoorDash. That's right. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. Let's break it down. For Vanderbilt, it's Eli Stowers. He delivered in a big way. Even though it wasn't quite enough in the end, 7 catches, 146 yards, 2 touchdowns is enough to put your team in a position to win a crucial game. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, and they didn't really win. But when the pressure was on, Eli Stowers definitely came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Eli Stowers, and this is weird to say after a loss, but Eli Stowers is on a streak. And just like Eli Stowers delivered for Vanderbilt, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You could save $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period good through 11/18. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you need a second listen, Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC, place to go. And really, Locked On Auburn with Zach Blackerby, who I did a crossover with this week. Check him out. And the whole family of SEC shows right here on this network is outstanding. All 17 of them, yes, including me, all 17 of the shows I would put up against any other conference and any other network in the Locked On family. So it's high praise. Anyway, talking about the impact of this game. This is a very, very important game. Because it just keeps this momentum going. This Vanderbilt building into a legitimate program into motion. You beat Auburn 2 years in a row. I don't care if Auburn's in shambles. That is a traditionally great program. It's a name brand. You beat them 2 years in a row at Vanderbilt. And yes, we're still this is part of shedding all of that. And I don't know if you guys remember Dan Campbell in Hard Knocks, where he when it was the Lions' turn to do Hard Knocks. It was one of my favorite seasons of all time. I'm a huge Dan Campbell fan. But he got this pair of jeans and had all this dust on it. And he was in the team meeting room. He just flung this thing. And he's like, this is all the losing. This is all the bad stuff. He said some colorful language, but this is all the bad stuff. He kept shaking it out. We got to get the rest of this out if we're going to be a great program, if we're going to be a great franchise in his sake. We have to get this last little bit of losing out. And he compared it to a dusty old pair of jeans. We got to get the losing out. So shedding this old Vanderbilt stuff, you got to shed it. But to shed it, you have to recognize it. Okay. You have to recognize it. So part of recognizing is this. You beat teams consistently that you should beat. Like you should beat Auburn. They're in the tank right now. You should beat them. And if you do, okay, you're doing what you're supposed to do. I mean, again, you should beat Auburn, so you shouldn't celebrate like it's, some huge upset. But also, you have to recognize for Vanderbilt, like these are the steps that they need to do to get rid of that last bit of losing, right? And if this program wants to take those next steps, they've got to take those next steps and celebrate those steps. Because to some programs, this is, you beat Auburn twice in a row, like whoop-de-doo, right? But for Vanderbilt, these are big steps. And I realize that. And you have to celebrate those to keep that momentum going and keep it realizing, hey, just remember how bad it was and appreciate how good it is and enjoy the climb. That's my advice to you. Anyway, enough free advice. Here's the keys to the game, right? So keys to success against the Auburn Tigers. Offensively, honestly, just do what you do and be patient. You got to establish the run, as difficult as that's going to be, and you got to find things in the passing game, i.e. Eli Stowers, okay? What does that mean? Well, Auburn is phenomenal on defense. They've been that way all year long. The reason they've lost 5 games is because their offense just keeps putting them out on the field, and they can't score points. And that Auburn's defense, they just, you've got to have an offense that can score enough to keep your elite defense correct when they make a mistake. Like Auburn's going to make mistakes because why? They're humans. And they also play against teams that also give out scholarships too. So occasionally they're going to get got. It's just like any defense in football. You're going to get got. You're not going to pitch shutouts all the time. They've not given up 24 points in a game yet, or more than 24 in a game yet. I think that was the stat. It's impressive. There's only 3 teams to do it. Ohio State, Indiana, Auburn. One of those is not like the others. But Auburn's offense has been so horrendously bad that all this great defense goes to waste. But if you're Vanderbilt's offense, you have to play into that. If you're Auburn on defense, you have to really clamp down and really try to get, like, they have to go for the big plays, and I think that's where they get in trouble too. And I think Vanderbilt, you have to be patient enough to be able to take advantage of that. You have to find some sort of mismatch. You have to find some way to get Eli Stowers in some space. You have to find a way to get him matched up on somebody that should not be matched up on him. And you have to find things in the passing game, and you have to establish a run. If you give up on the run, Auburn can tee off on you and come after you. So you have to be patient. If you're getting 1-2 yards of carry, that's okay, because later those runs will pop. They did this against Missouri, and they were able to break through. And they were able to break through enough because Missouri's offense kind of sputtered when Bo Prabula went out of the game. Even though I thought Zollers had a really nice game, they still only scored 10 points. So you can have some things. And you're not going to need – I don't think you're going to need a ton of plays to win this game, truthfully. On the defensive side of the ball, clamp down on the run. Don't give them a chance to gain any confidence nor figure things out. Derek Nix, I think, is a better play caller, or I feel like I don't know a whole lot about him as a play caller. There's not a whole lot of sample size, but I feel like he could be a better play caller than Hugh Freeze. But we could also find out that he's not. So let's just not let him find out anything. Let's let him find out how much it is to struggle. You just knock him down and keep him down. You have to pin them. You cannot let them get going. Ashton Daniels, we don't have a lot of film on him. The Kentucky game, you're not going to get much out of it because he was running for his life. Just try to recreate that. Just do that. Make him run for his life. Make him throw the ball away. Make him throw it into coverage. Have them run into loaded boxes. Be able to tight coverage. Be able to communicate. Be able to tackle well in space because they're probably going to quick game you to death. They probably watch the Texas film going, uh-oh, we got something. So you better learn how to tackle. You better learn how to get off blocks. You better learn how to play good team defense because talent-wise, they got you on the outside. Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman are athletically two of the best, two of the better ones. So you better figure out how to tackle, better figure out how to pursue. You better figure out how to play complementary football out there, right? Special teams, you got to make plays in special teams, right? You've got to do all the little things that it takes. And part of that is just once you kind of get their offense on their heels, you got to keep them there. And that's the key. All right. And then finally, expectations are still high with college football playoffs still on the line. So you still got all of that in front of you. So you got to understand and play super focused. Don't play nervous because you really don't have anything to lose because you're not supposed to be there anyway. But play to a point to where you're hyper focused and you're doing everything you need to get. Now, Auburn's going to get the Durkin interim coach bump. But you know how you stop that? You just squash it. Jump on them early. Don't give them any confidence. Jump on them early and stay on them. Right? It's like when you're in history class and you read about all these like early post-revolution skirmishes. You know how they end? You know why you never really hear about them? Because they're squashed immediately. You just squash them. All these skirmishes, all these violent protests, like right after the Revolutionary War, about whatever rules, squashed them immediately. Right? Can't let them get any confidence. Can't let Auburn get any confidence. You have to jump on them early, and that's the key. So, what's going to happen in this game? Auburn, the line has dropped to 6.5 now. What's going to happen? I don't know. Well, I'm going to tell you. Well, I do know, but I'm going to tell you next. All right, talking about Supply House. Man, wouldn't it be something when the opening whistle blows on a new repair and you get your crew moving forward with Supply House? Man, if you order today, you see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times will keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Man, you need parts fast for a project? Supply House has next-day delivery. Man, talk about a game changer. The part finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make the whole process smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks with like priority shipping, lower prices, dedicated support lines, all that stuff. So visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. All right. Wrapping up here, last few minutes of the show at Locked On Vandy and all social media platforms. Make sure you check out, like, subscribe. Again, the whole family of shows on the Locked On Network. Make sure you check those out. The squad shows are phenomenal as well, so you can see all of us get together as SEC hosts. So, poised, blast the Auburn Tigers. What's going to happen? Vandy is 6.5-point favorites at home. Do they win by a touchdown? I think so. So here's my prediction. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think it's going to be one of those back and forths, kind of like last year's game, where it's like it was 7-7 for a really long time, and Vanderbilt ended up winning that thing 17-7 because they were able to close out, and Auburn wasn't. And I think Auburn's the same type of team, interim coach or not. I think they struggle in the fourth quarter, and my guess is only as good as the evidence that they've put out there so far. I don't know what that evidence looks like with new leadership. But you have to think with just a few days practice, not a whole lot's going to change in that regard. And I don't know that this game would be a fair representation of what DJ Durkin can actually do as a head coach. You just kind of need to see the whole body of his work. And if this game's close, I think you can justify, hey, he's doing a good enough job, possibly. But I think this game's going to be very, very similar to what it was a year ago. I think it's going to be like 17-10 in favor of Vanderbilt. So I do think Vanderbilt gets the cover, but barely and late. And so this is going to be, again, a lot like the Missouri game. It's going to be 17-10. It's going to be a struggle. You're going to look and go, oh, this defense is exhausting. So that's how I see this game, right? Because I just honestly, Auburn's offense is so bad. Like, I just don't know how it can improve this drastically with a quarterback that doesn't have a ton of experience, and his only experience was him running around, getting sacked. Just, I don't know. This defense is great. That's why I think it's going to be low scoring. I don't think Vanderbilt's going to get above 20, really. I'd be surprised if they did. But it's going to go a lot like the Missouri game. I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't think so. Anyway, what do the rest of my SEC picks look like? Right, I'm making some SEC picks. Right, Vanderbilt -6.5. That's my pick there. If you're going to same game parlay it, I would take the under. I would smash the under in this game because I think it's going to be relatively low scoring. The over-under set at 45.5. I would definitely play the under there as well. And I'd play the under in the Florida-Kentucky game too. I'd probably play that more so than the line itself is probably, if you're betting money on this is where I would go. So here's my week 11 picks. Alabama -10.5 over LSU. It's a big spread, so proceed with caution. But I think Alabama is just kind of in that mode. LSU, I just think, is broken. They have athletes, but where's their headspace? That's the concern. And 2 touchdowns is not, in the grand scheme of things, too terrible. So I'm going to take Alabama -10.5. I'm also taking Kentucky +3.5. They might win outright against Florida, for a lot of the same reasons. I just think Florida is just a weird team. They have a lot of people out. It's in Lexington. Definitely whatever the over-under is, I'm taking the under in that one as well. So you could probably same game parlay that with the under. And Cutter Boley's a good quarterback. He's still developing. And I think there's a lot of things he can improve. And I think as a team, they're not quite as strong just collectively talent-wise. But, they play pretty well together. But they just don't know how to finish games. Their record is what it is for a reason. So that's kind of where I fall on Kentucky. And then Texas A&M -5.5 against Missouri. Matt Zollers, it's just a tough ask for him to be able to. It's a home game, and I get that. And circumstances dictate things sometimes. And he's got a lot of poise. And I thought he was pretty good against Vanderbilt in his action. He's got some athletic ability. He's got a cannon. He can make some throws. He can make some things happen. Seems like the guys believe in him. But A&M's on a special run right now. And these edge guys handle Diego Pavia pretty well. So I think they'll probably be able to do the same against Marcel Reed. But I'm taking A&M here. I'm proceeding with caution here. I just think A&M right now, I just think they're doing enough, and I think they could win this thing by a touchdown. It could be back and forth for a little while. They'll pull away, and then Missouri will pull back into it. I just think with the freshman quarterback thing versus this team, I just think it's going to be too much for Missouri, and that's just kind of my tipping point because everything else, you consider Missouri's defense, you're looking at a good situation there. So, but anyway, that's my pick. So I'm going to flash them up one more time. A couple same game parlays if you want them. Vanderbilt -6.5 plus the under is something that I would think about taking, and Kentucky +3.5 and the under in that game, which I think is the same over-under at 45.5. So definitely smash the unders on those games. Some of these games you may want to go with the over-under more so than the spread. But otherwise, these are the games I feel most confident about. I was back and forth between Alabama minus 10.5 and Georgia minus 7.5. Both those lines scare me, but I'm just going to go ahead and jump on Alabama because, well, they're going to be motivated. They're good. So there you have it there. So thanks for joining. Thanks for joining me this week. Thanks for indulging me. Got a lot of great stuff. Got a lot of great content lined up. Got a lot of great things on the horizon. So like Everydayers Club that's going to launch in December. It's a small subscription. I think it's like $50 a year. And you get access to ad-free audio. There's going to be, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work, but you'll get, an email newsletter, just some extra content, things like that, that you can be privy to. So it's going to be, so if you want to sign up for that, when that comes about, absolutely jump on board with that. And, it could be well worth it if you like listening to Spotify without ads. So that's something you can think about. And you can go around and say, hey, guess what, guys? I'm in the Vanderbilt Everydayers Club. Think about the flex that has around the office, right? You walk around. I'll even create. I teach graphic design, so I get my kids to make you an Everydayers Club badge, and I can send it to you. And you can, like the Wayne's World, where they're walking around like, oh, bench. Oh, like the backstage passes, and they're like just flashing in people's face like they're special. Like you can do that at your office or in public. Like you can walk into Publix and go, hey, Everydayers Club, I'm here, present. Wouldn't that be cool? Anyway, hope you have a great weekend. If you go to the game, be careful. I think the weather's supposed to be good, but it's supposed to also, I think, be kind of chilly maybe. So I'll be honest, I haven't looked at the forecast. I'm just guessing because we got some weather coming in. But be safe, have fun, and as always, anchor down. I'll be with you post game, probably coming at you at 8 p.m. Central Time as my normal late afternoon time slot. That's typically when I go live with my reaction. So that's kind of a normal thing. Win or lose, I'll be here and be reacting. So until then, anchor down. Peace.